to do, but I do my best to try to think of how I would look at the world from your seat and
Mm.
seeing the worst of the worst and the things you've seen. And all right, so you ship out '08. You're still technically with NSA.
Mhm.
When you were leaving there, did you already know, or had they told you in any way that, hey, you're going to be getting in on the ground roll now? Or did you still think you were going to be doing desk support type stuff?
I thought it was all going to be desk support the entire time, and I was just hating it. I was like, oh my gosh, when is this going to be over?
This
Not
is not
getting-
the spy novels.
Right. And I didn't know. So in the Navy, the job I had chosen was, it said collector after, right? Intel collector, but it's signals intelligence. And I didn't realize that it wasn't, this crazy, I'm sitting there with like a microphone in some house in Syria, forward tactical stuff. I was like, I'm sitting behind this computer and this is not what I was looking for. But
All right, so when you go back, you ship back to America, what happens?
so as soon as I get back, I get pulled into this other unit that I was talking about. It was called the Foreign Counterintelligence Activity. It doesn't exist anymore. It's become something else now.
Is this within NSA still?
No, so I'm the only NSA person assigned to this command at the time.
And it's under CIA?
It was a joint
Okay,
program that they
all
had,
right, got it.
with a bunch of different agencies. FBI had a stake in it.
Oh, they let them in?
Well, if it's domestic, you kind of have to.
So how much? Like, what does this look like? How many people are you working with? What are they, from a mission standpoint? What are they trying to get you to do?
So I can't say how big the
Okay.
effort was, but it was a small unit and mostly very experienced people. They even had a program where people that had been in the military too long could switch over and stay in the job just to retain some of the knowledge. And so I got to essentially sit at the knee of a lot of people that had been working this 35 years, on the same topic. And so they knew everything about their target sets, about these different foreign intelligence services. And so it was very helpful later in life to just soak up the expertise these people had.
Is there, like, we hear these terms about, like, the Five Eyes and stuff, for example, the English-speaking countries, an alliance, in air quotes. Is there any such thing as an alliance, not something that's just, like, announced in the news, like, oh, we're friends? Is there any such thing as that within the espionage world?
Within the espionage world?
Yep.
Absolutely not.
Right.
There's no such thing as a friendly intelligence service.
Right.
Yeah.
Were you surprised at some of the intelligence services that might have popped up as, like, say, code reds, that you're like, wait a second, we're supposed to be kind of playing for the same team, right?
Yeah, everybody's always got their own motivation. They've always got their own goals. And so it can be a little overwhelming at times because you just want to be so focused on fighting the adversary, but you have to do so much of your own skill set just to be around, the office and to play that little game, especially with a foreign intelligence service, that you're working just to be able to work later.
Yeah. Do you think that there's any such thing, like I try to think of it, and it's impossible for me to do, but I do my best to try to think of how I would look at the world from your seat and seeing the worst of the worst and the things you've seen and how people trick each other and pull one over each other. Do you think there's anything that can exist in the world that is actually real trust between people, or do you think people are inherently flawed to never fully trust each other?
So I'm very much a shades of gray person. I don't think there's any situation you just described that's completely white or completely black. So I would say to degrees, you're always assessing to what degree can I trust this person, but would I say there's ever a no matter what 100% moment? Not that I've ever been aware of.
So when you're at this desk, though, that they pull you back to in America, where I guess you're assessing foreign intelligence services at all times. How long did you spend there?
So I just did my other 2 years there, a year and a half, I guess, at that point to finish out my tour.
And that is once again, in the office behind the desk, trying to track things very similarly skill set wise to what you did in Afghanistan.
That's right. And very focused on the communications of the adversary and not so much the physical side I got into later.
Now, you had told me very quickly when you first got here off camera that, what was it? You had an uncle who was a psychologist in the CIA. Was that right?
Right. He was a psychiatrist. It was actually a great uncle, but growing up, I never knew. It wasn't well known within the family.
Yeah, he didn't announce it.
No. We didn't have like family parties where he wore, an agency T-shirt or anything like that. But I found out later in life that was the case.
Now, was he like involved with a little MK Ultra type stuff or that kind of psychiatrist?
And if he was, he wasn't sharing anything with me, but it would have been around that time period that he was
Uh-oh. Uncle Chuck. Gotta search the books on that one. Yeah. So you didn't know that growing up, but you did share, as a kid or whatever, with him in earshot that you wanted to be a spooky person.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So, and this is what you told me that was like, I don't know if I've heard something like this before, but you said that, I guess because of that, he started having the CIA analyze you psychiatrically at like 16?
So I don't know that. What I know is that I had tickets that were started to be processed early on.
Tickets?
Yeah, it's like my clearance tickets had happened before I joined.
At 16, potentially.
Right. And so sometimes I don't know if it was the agency or who, but sometimes they'll start taking a look at you a little bit early if they're assessing, you for a certain thing. But I don't know if he spoke to them, but I assume that that's what would have gotten me on the radar.
How did you even find that out that they were looking at you at that age? Did someone tell you that years later?
It was an accident. So I was actually doing something with a security officer that, handles the clearances and all that. And they were looking at me like I was just crazy. And I was like, I haven't even said anything yet. This is going badly from the beginning. And they're like, how do you have like this other clearance that was started, when you were young? I was like, what are you talking about? It's like, maybe it's a typo, but I think it was because I had looked at getting in young.
Okay. So you do the last 2 years of your rotation on this desk assessing foreign intel. Yep. As you said, you're still technically with NSA, but this is like a task force kind of thing where you're working with multiple different agencies.
Right.
How do you get pulled into CIA?
So, like I said, it was always my intent to go in the front door and just go apply and get in that way. And so I know a lot of the case officers I worked with were aware of that because I was telling everybody, like, as soon as my time's up here, I'm going to go apply. And so I was approached at that time by someone.
How does that work?
I can't go into all the details of how that works for my program specifically.
You don't have to give the address. I'm just saying, yeah.
Yeah, so before I finished applying, someone came and said, hey, there's an alternate way to get into this. Let's talk about not going through the front door, essentially.
You're like, all right, Harry Potter, relax.
Right.
All right, so you can't say exactly how that was, but does that mean that they were trying to pull you into how do I say this right? They were trying to pull you into the side that is automatically going to be off books, not diplomatic cover. That's why they did it that way?
I assume that's part of it. Yeah.
Okay. Because like Andrew Bustamante obviously was taken to the farm, the whole bit, kind of the regular way. Jim Lawler, I believe, same thing. Mm-hmm. You're a different story because they obviously identify you and say, all right, deniable. Now, the one thing I'm a little confused with, though, because I'm very unfamiliar with a lot of guys in your role, is that you did have, prior to doing this, you were quite literally in the military and then working for an agency.
Right. Which was secret at the time, though.
So it's off books.
The fact that I was in the Navy was known, but that I had been working for the NSA at the time was not public.
Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.